Thank you, everyone, very much. Is this too loud? Is this okay? Well, thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much to the Chamber, Jerry, Alan, Jason, everybody. The Chamber of Commerce, as Jason said, is an extremely successful, too loud, successful organization that benefits so many people here in Miami Beach. My long-standing history with Miami Beach starts right over there at North Beach Elementary back in the early 80s. I've been a resident here, graduate of North Beach and Nautilus, Beach High, the whole thing, and began my career here in 1999 with Mango's Tropical Cafe, my family's business. It was kind of it was a different time then. I'm sure everybody knows the different evolutions that the beach has had over the last 10, 15 years, going to the global destination that we are today. We are one of the top destinations in the entire world for tourism and fun in the sun. We hold our own with anybody here, and everybody can be proud of the community that we live in. It really is a wonderful, wonderful community. Mango's I see as a real tent pole among many other tent poles like the Fountain Blue and Joe Stone Crabs, helping to hold up this big roof that we live under here at Miami Beach. Back then, we were still going through an evolution of what we were, and I was able to bring just sort of a unique, my family, the Wallacks and the Grabarniks up in New York, all come from a real estate background and a hotel, restaurant background, and we're all a very entrepreneurial family. All my cousins that you might know, all have been involved in a different degree of different businesses, and we all have a stake here in Miami Beach. But I come from that Generation X. You know, I'm the first generation that was born here. People still are shocked to hear that I was born in Miami Beach and grew up here. I'm one of the few natives, and really seeing the beach grow up the way that I have, through the Mariel days when we put bars up on the windows on Ocean Drive, to where we are today is really an amazing evolution of 25 years, and it's something that I think is very unique anywhere in the world. Mango's has grown with me in my position there, has become a phenomenon, a global phenomenon. People all over the world know Mango's as a top nightclub, restaurant, and it's become something that has its own energy, has its own life force, and is going through a huge expansion phase right now, which I'll get to into some general detail. I can't get so into the nitty-gritty of that because some of the things are confidential, but I will tell you a couple of things that we're doing, and it's a real huge quantum leap from where we were back then in 1999 before becoming what people know Mango's as today. We were really just another place on Ocean Drive, and now we seem to be the #1 place on Ocean Drive, and really what people think about when they think about South Beach, they think about going to Mango's. In those younger years, it was, you really had to dig deep inside of you, and that's when I really began to kind of tap both sides of my brain. The left side of your brain is the artist in you. There's an artist in all of us, and it's really the ability to reach over there and decide, who you are. This is coming only from my opinion. You can take it or leave it, whatever you like. But there's something inside of you that allows you to kind of reach those levels of yourself and into your spirit, into what the person that you were born to be, and find the color, find the artistry in your industry and what you're doing. And I began to start tapping into those feelings and those thoughts back then, and really started to bring a lot of value into the company. And I would sit with my father years ago and talk about, I thought we lost the audio. Talk about just new products, looking at everything as a product or service, Our products are food and beverage and entertainment. Really understanding, I really got a very sharp understanding of what our industry was, and what products that we offered, what services we offered, and how it all fit together, and everything started to slow down for me. I started to see how I could exploit things, how I could make things better, and continue to add value every single day to my company. And that's really where the tide turns, I think, in a young business person's life, when they come out of college and they have these sort of general classroom skills, but they don't have any years on the field yet. Okay, there's no real record of what you do, and it's the second. Some people can get it right off the bat. Some people it takes them a couple of years, but I think once you start to tap into your strength inside, and again, like I said, the left side of your head. The left side of your brain is your artist, and then the right side is the real hardcore business person. And it's being able to get to both of those sides and put them together that makes you the most powerful business person that you can be. Okay, where you're not just a numbers cruncher. You're not just someone that looks at someone else's business plan. You can write your own business plan. You have your own big ideas, and those are the people that really understand their own passion. They're not, living for somebody else's money or somebody else's. They're doing themselves. They're doing their own thing. And you know something? Even if you are working in a firm, a professional firm, you become more valuable as an executive when you can add value. Always add value to whoever your client is or whatever you're working on. That's the point. The point of business every single day is to basically put on that hat. You're coming out of your house, you're putting on your clothes, you're going into the office. You become a different person. You become it's almost like an athlete on the field. There's different rules, okay? And you need to learn the rules of engagement, what you're doing, and then you can start to, again, the game starts to slow down, and you start to add value to your company in ways that can be measured, different things, whether it's products, whether it's services, whether it's enhancements, and that all leads to bigger growth and hopefully better cost structure and better profit. Well, back to I'm supposed to talk about my experience. Mangoes was an incredible first part of my career because it was such a creative hotbed of people and all these different types of people from all over the world, different countries, different cultures, and they all had something to offer. They all had art that they brought forth, and our business as a melting pot became a big stew, a rich, colorful stew of all these different things, and people who would have absolutely no chance to make the type of money they were making anywhere else were coming to Mangoes and becoming these stars. And we would see them early on. We would put them in the right positions in order to develop them and into real solid people later on. During that time, I also had a different vision. I became sort of obsessed, not obsessed, but every single time I traveled, I always sought out the InMotion. Everybody remember InMotion in the airports that would rent DVD players back when DVDs were even the norm? I sought out this company, and I was really interested in the mobile entertainment space and having your own content, your own movies and TV shows, things like that, for when you travel. That became a really strong feeling, and really it became the #1 company in the world. I mean, this is what Apple's doing now. They've taken over everything with regards to that. But if you go back, 10 years, basically, I took my family on an Amtrak train from Washington D.C. to Orlando, and became sort of obsessed with doing a similar InMotion business for Amtrak, and was over the course of 2 years was able to put together the business plan, the financing, everything it took in order to go and get that contract from Amtrak. When you talk about a company that doesn't move fast, you talk about challenges, you talk about overcoming obstacles, okay? That company doesn't have to make money. Try dealing with a company whose motivation is not making money or customer satisfaction. I don't even know what their corporate, rules are there. And it was very difficult, and it was one of the great challenges of my career up until that point, trying to figure out how to get this company to do a deal with a startup company. And basically, what happened was, I was going to, this little story about my experience at what was called Railway Media really was one of the big turning points in my life that I'd like to share with you. And it was, I met, while I was in New York doing fundraising, I met a man who, his name is Jeff Nugent. He's the rock star Ted Nugent's older brother, but he was the former CEO of Revlon, and before that, CEO of Neutrogena. This was a huge Fortune 500 guy who was just at the time in between companies. And to make a long story short, he agreed to become CEO of Railway Media before we even had our contract with Amtrak. So I had a Fortune 500 CEO who was 60 years old and who I felt could raise all the money, put his name out there that he was doing it and we'd get the 20 million, no problem, okay? And so I put myself behind him and let him lead us. Well, a lot of things were going slowly. I wasn't really sure what at that time, but I knew that putting him in the business plan as CEO was going to matter. And we would continue to have these meetings in New York. I would be going up there. I'd be working at Mango's, and then on my day off, I would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and be on that 6:55 flight out of Fort Lauderdale, and to be in New York City in meetings at 9:30 a.m. And that's what you have to do, okay? You have to be, when you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to do something big, when you're looking to take your idea and actually put it out there, you need to be like a soldier, okay? You need to be believing in something that's bigger than yourself, and you need to overcome your own limitations. But anyway, what happened was, after a couple of months of kind of flim-flamming over our business plan and whatnot, not really getting anywhere with Amtrak, I got an email from Amtrak. I'll never forget it. I was walking out of Publix with my wife, and I got an email from my contact at Amtrak saying, "How is Jeff Nugent going to be CEO of your company when he's CEO of this company?" And he sent me a link, and it was a press release that Nugent and a couple of private equity guys just went and bought a pharmaceutical company for $250 million called Insight Pharmaceuticals that makes Nix Lice and Anacin Aspirin and a couple of other brands, Sucrets, things like that. And he had sort of been doing that behind my back. But I couldn't blame him, of course. I mean, here I have a pre-revenue startup, and here he's going off and buying a $200 million company. So the Amtrak people had basically said, so your CEO's gone. And I was shocked. It was a very pivotal moment for me to figure out, what I was going to do. Was I going to continue with my dream as an entrepreneur, or was I going to quit and go back to doing what I was doing? And I remember taking a walk that night, and this is something that if you don't remember anything else from this lunch, as business people, try to remember this one. I was walking, it was about midnight, and I was looking up at the sky on my street. And my heart was racing, and I was very upset, and there was a lot of anxiety going on. A year and so much money I had poured out in with travel and everything like that. And I looked up at the sky, and I saw the stars, and I said to myself, you know what? I said, I'm going to be dead one day, and those same stars are going to be there looking down at another person standing here on the street years from now. I said, why should I ever be afraid of anything? Why should I ever be scared to do anything in this life? I'm just a person. I'm mortal. I'm going to be dead one day. There's no reason why I should ever let fear stop me. And a switch flipped. And the next day, I responded to the email to the Amtrak person. I said, I'm the CEO. Me. Okay? And I went through a whole thing. He said, don't say anything else. He said, we were hoping that that was what it was going to be because you've been the driving force the whole time anyway, and we thought that this guy was just a figurehead. So from that moment on, I've never asked anybody to lead the way for me. I like talking to people who know what they're doing, know what they're saying, but as far as strategy, as far as figuring out, researching, knowing what my industry is, knowing who my customers are, knowing what my products and services are, I'm the one that goes out there and does it myself. And I know it better than anybody. And that's how you have to be. This is in my own heart. I'm just sharing with you what I feel, and it's all just sort of coming out. I'm just trying to be as honest as possible. But that's what I believe my recipe is for advancement and progress, and not walking in circles, okay? Because what you do is, when you are an entrepreneur or you are a business person, you can set a goal for yourself. And your goal, most goals that are worth achieving are way, way, way down the road. And a lot of people don't even know where they are, what direction they're in. They could be hundreds of yards away in a sort of informal way to talk about it. And you have to, inside of you, understand that that's my goal, way down there. And it's your passion that's going to drive you. Your passion, and then, a bunch of other things too. You have to be smart. You have to know your industry, but it's your passion, and it's your willingness to do whatever it takes to meet your goal. Those are the successful business people that I try and emulate in my career. Okay, because those are the ones that never said no, that never said I can't, and that's how I would want my son and daughter to think about me when they're in college and they're talking about their dad. I want my children to be able to know in their heart that their dad wasn't a quitter by any stretch, and was able to fight through adversity and fight through fear, limitation, roadblocks, whatever it was, to achieve a goal of business. And that's what motivates me every day. So anyway, I ended up getting the contract with Amtrak. I ended up raising a couple $1 million in venture capital and opening up this whole thing with Amtrak, and it was a great experience, a wonderful experience. I traveled all over the country all the time, and during that whole period where we had this amazing video player that was preloaded with, who was the first ever player preloaded with food. This doesn't seem so, everybody has an iPad now and an iPhone, so it doesn't seem so great. But back then, a decade ago, we had the only thing going, and it was a proprietary thing. And I brought the same thing over to Southwest Airlines and was very close to a deal with them. I brought the same thing over to Hertz Rent-A-Car and made a deal with them, and actually was successful in not only doing a deal with Hertz, which is the largest rent-a-car company in the entire world, but we also brought in Nickelodeon to be our third partner, and Nickelodeon branded the whole device with 40 hours of Nickelodeon content, and it was being rented on Hertz's website with the cars. And actually, Nancy Rackman was Senior Vice President of Home Entertainment at Nickelodeon, and we worked on that deal together, and we ended up opening 50 Hertz airport cities. My team of 4 guys, and one of them is here today also. We opened up 50 cities, and each city presented its own unique challenge of employees, facilities, etc. But we overcame that, and we were able to roll that puppy out and get it going in a national sense. So a startup company, 2 startup companies rolling out with 2 of the largest transportation companies in 3 years. It was a pretty big accomplishment, and I'm very proud to have done that. The experience, there's nothing like, I mean, you could go to get a Harvard MBA, but there's nothing like being out on the street, not pounding the pavement yourself to try to get people to believe in your vision. and to write a check and to sign papers. It's one thing to talk and talk and talk and talk. It's another thing to close. Okay? Because from where I come from, in my culture, and from my dad's family, and from where we grew up, okay, we come from a business standpoint where if you don't close the deal, you don't eat. You don't just get paid to try. And that's something that